At 21 years old and having nothing to lose, I had just invested the inheritance left by my stepfather who, 2 months earlier, in an unsuccessful landing, had made me an orphan again. I programmed my investment to periodically top up a bank account and my debit card and, without any idea or patience, I decided to venture between Colombia and Mexico, following a group of migrants who dreamed of living in North America. The group had planned to cross the Darién forest using trails that a guide had mapped for them with geo-references. I learned about this project in Medellin, where I traveled in the winter of 2023 to visit a childhood friend. Lucia had gone to study medicine in Medellin and decided to work and take up residence there. From that city, 3 vans would take the entire group to the city of Caripa, a municipality located in the department of Antioquia. From this point, we would set out on foot with the intention of reaching the beginning of the Pan American Highway in Panamanian territory. The distance to travel, around 150 kilometers, would follow trails designed northwest of Caripa. If everything went well, it would take us around 60 hours to reach the town of Yavisa. Still in Medellin, I prepared my gear, carrying in a backpack several cereal bars, a small water filter, a pocket knife, a flashlight, matches, dehydrated food, underwear, warm clothes, a tent hammock with mosquito net, a few dollars, and the bank card. The city of Yavisa marks the southern limit of the Pan American Highway, along which thousands of migrants head to North America. The forest is inhospitable and dangerous, typically described as a compact jungle and one of the least accessible territories in Latin America. In Yavisa, the asphalt on the Pan American Highway suddenly disappears, discontinuing the approximately 12,500 kilometers of road that begins in the far north in Prudhoe, Alaska. Before leaving, I was informed that I would face high temperatures and daily rain. Despite the regrets, I persisted with the desire to take on this adventure outside the mass tourism route. Everyone in the group also knew that, in the forest, we would not have accommodation or food and that we could encounter weapons and drug traffickers. In other words, it would be an adventure riddled with risks. Before leaving the hotel in Medellin, I tried to find out about alternative routes towards Panama, and I learned that these departed from the city of Turbo, where it was possible to hire a boat and cross the Gulf of Urabá reaching the city of La Mille, but whoever chose this route would also need to cross a part of the forest where there were mighty rivers and a region known for its abundant wildlife. I confess that snakes, spiders, and crocodiles never really attracted me, on the contrary. I left Medellin overcome with the thought of living an unforgettable experience, and that's what I found. Day 1. It was 5:15 in the morning of the 4th of July, when the van with me and 12 other people left the urban center of Caripa, heading northwest along a precarious and muddy road. We drove slowly for about 20 kilometers, when the driver informed us that from there the group would continue foot, guided by a young man called Pablo. According to the driver, Pablo would carry a manual compass and a satellite cell phone and would be able to provide any assistance that was necessary, up to the vicinity of the Atrata River which, not far from the point where we were, flowed into an estuary that opened into the Atlantic. In the first kilometers of the walk, I tried to stay by Pablo's side, and it was he who told me that most of the migrants rented a boat that crossed the estuary, leaving from Necoclí to Capargana, about 55 kilometers away from the Pan American Highway in Yavisa. From what I understand, the 2 locations that Pablo mentioned were still Colombian. According to the guide, the migrants did this to avoid the Darién forest. Despite it being winter in the southern hemisphere, the temperature was around 30 degrees Celsius, and the heat was only mitigated by the shade of the tall vegetation that framed most of the trail we followed. Until then, I hadn't paid much attention to the group I'd been out with. Mostly male, only 3 women were part of the group. They were all wives who accompanied their respective husbands on the same attempt. We all spoke Castilian, but there were different accents among us. Contrary to what I imagined, before starting this journey, there were no very poor people in the group or, at the other extreme, obviously rich people. In addition to Pablo, 2 other Venezuelan colleagues, Marcos and Paco, became those closest to me and my favorite targets for exchanging ideas. All of them intended to reach the United States, and some of them already had family members in North America. Whenever I revealed my intention to go only to Mexico, the group members looked at me with suspicion. They certainly thought it was impossible for anyone to face the hardships of the jungle without having as their destination what would be paradise for them. Marcos, who appeared to be over 50 years old, told me he was a widower and had no children. He revealed that throughout his life, he had saved a few dollars, which he now invested in this journey to work as a bricklayer in North America. He said he still had the strength to do well in the profession that he knew was well paid there. He traveled without any visa in his passport and was betting on illegal entry, like thousands of others who had already achieved the feat for many kilometers and a few hours jumping small streams, losing and finding unlit sections of the trails. We stopped for hydration and a snack. I had filtered a liter of water from a spring we had passed, a good accompaniment to a cereal and chocolate bar that I took from my backpack. I noticed that everyone in the group still seemed excited and positively accepting the challenges of the journey so far. I shared some of my water with Paco, a somewhat extroverted man in his 40s who, at a certain point during our stop, I noticed was drying tears.